Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charleston, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And boy, oh boy, we have a fun episode for you guys here today that you definitely want to stick around for. So let's go ahead and get into it now. One of the reasons I personally believe that a lot of people stop watching First Things First, and I'm going off of that, not because I sat back and looked at the numbers. It's just based on some of the comments that we've been reading, that we've been getting over months, and in some cases even years. I think one of the reasons a lot of people stopped taking that show seriously was because ever since the departure of Chris Carter, if you guys remember, Chris Carter was originally on the show. Nick Wright and Chris Carter originally made their debut on Undisputed in 2016. It was where Nick Wright came on Undisputed with Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless, and he dropped the bombshell in 2016 when he said that LeBron James had already passed Michael Jordan all time. He said that in 2016. That's when a lot of people started, paying attention to him. And once they eventually got their show, First Things First, it was him and Chris Carter and a moderator. And when they had the moderator, the moderator would just do a good role and do a good job moderating the show. But whenever Nick Wright used to make those kind of outlandish assertions, Chris Carter would always push back on him. But the moment he left that show, Nick Wright was basically essentially able to run amok. He just took over the building, and he was just pretty much doing whatever he wanted to do. And I thought after the departure of Chris Carter, the show lost most of its balance. It was basically the Nick Wright show. And a lot of the opinions that the show would put forward were usually skewed towards his way of thinking, because he was the prevalent voice on that show. Let's just face it. And whenever someone would come on the show and really try to challenge some of the things that he was saying, usually he would just interrupt the person and just say, wait a minute, I have to stop here. I have to say something, and then just start talking over the guest. And that seemed to be the way things were conducted on that show. But over the last few weeks, or maybe a month, they've been bringing in NBA insider Ric Bucher. Now, Ric Bucher, I actually caught wind of him, at ESPN, because he used to make appearances on ESPN. He's a journalist, obviously. And whenever Ric Bucher comes on the show, he's been one of the few people that have been able to push back on Nick Wright on a consistent basis. And he's been one of these people that has, constantly had an opposing view to Nick Wright. Usually what happens is Nick Wright has a position, and then usually some of the people tend to agree with him, and then sometimes they disagree. When Ric Bucher comes on the show, he is usually on the total opposite end of whatever argument that Nick Wright puts forward. And to me, I think it makes for great TV. And I've seen a lot of times when Ric Bucher comes on the show, you see Nick Wright starting to get flustered and get into his emotions. And I think they've had some very classic exchanges. And one of them, a big one, was when Ric Bucher said that he wasn't sure at the time that the Lakers had a top 10 player on their roster, including LeBron and Anthony Davis. So for those of you who missed that exchange, which I thought were just pure TV gold, I want to play a little bit of it here, and we're going to come back and react to it. So take a listen to some of the things that they said in that exchange here, and we come back here.
I will give them a puncher's chance to get out of the play-in tournament, but that's about as far as it goes. And not to open up a can of worms or create a tier of top 10 players, but I'm not sure that the Lakers have a top 10 player, and certainly I'm not putting Anthony Davis in that category at this point. You're talking about the Lakers last year being up on the Phoenix Suns. That was last year's Lakers. And that was last year's Suns. There is no comparison to the Phoenix Suns now,
we have to dive into
or
what
the
Rick
Los
just
Angeles Lakers now.
Wait a minute. We got to stop, because I was about to say something I don't think I've ever said on this show, which is I totally agree with Ric Bucher, which is it's going to be I would pick them to get out of the play-in, but it's far from a guarantee, and I would give them no shot to beat Phoenix 4 out of 7. Did you just say there's an argument the Lakers don't have a single top 10 player? Did you say that?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did not. In the words of Chris Broussard, I did not stutter.
See, so Rick, and I say this, and I love having you on the show.
Top 10?
Hold on, wait. I got this first. This is why folks might assume or even throw your way that you have some, anti-LeBron derangement syndrome. That's the word. Because if you are trying to make the argument I'm just curious. You've covered the league a long time.
Yes.
Let's just assume LeBron wins the scoring title. How many scoring champs in your career covering the league were not top 10 players?
What?
Can you think of any others?
We're assuming. We're assuming that.
He's right now he's winning the scoring title. Right now he is. So I'm just curious. Is it a long list of guys who've won the scoring title or not top 10 players, especially guys who are one of 2 players in the league averaging 27, 7, and 7, he and Giannis. Giannis, I assume you have Giannis in the top 10. Tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe not. Maybe Big Bam Adebayo guy, but assuming Giannis top 10. So would LeBron be the first guy in your career covering the league to win a scoring title while not a top 10 player? Because it's a fascinating take.
Yeah, you know what? He might be, because I'm trying to think of the guys that have won a scoring title that have been on teams this bad, that have won a scoring title and it has no effect on their teams actually winning games.
I'll let you, because I'm so irritated with Rick. You've done nothing here. But let me just, I guess there needs to be balance in the universe, and a lot of people's top 10s have 16 players in them. I would like for Ric Bucher to go pen to paper on 10 names. Because if LeBron's not in his top 10, I think Bucher's top 10's got 4 guys. I think it's Giannis, Durant, Jokic, Embiid, and that's your top 10. Because is Harden a top 10 guy? Is Dame a top 10 guy?
You know what?
Who are the top 10 guys that are doing more than LeBron? I'd like to know the list.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of a guy we saw last night, and when he was in Minnesota, and his numbers were meteoric. They were monstrous. And people would talk about Kevin Love as a top 10 player.
Oh, my God.
You remember that.
Guys,
Kevon Love was talked about as a top 10 player because of his statistics. It didn't translate to winning. He was never a top 10 player in my estimation. No, I'm comparing how we're basing what a top 10 player is. We're basing it on statistics.
I'd like to know the 10 names.
Rather than effect on the game.
Now, let me tell you why we decided to say that this could possibly turn into Nick Wright's biggest nightmare. I think for the very first time in a long while, Nick is going against someone that can see straight through his arguments. And he catches Nick in a very witty way, and he doesn't react to Nick with the same level of emotion that Nick reacts to him. So what usually ends up happening is this. Nick Wright will say one thing. Ric Bucher will throw out his rebuttal. And then Nick Wright will just go off the rail. Like his emotions will be flaring up all over the place. And what usually happens is Ric Bucher then starts to smile. And he gets very, you rarely see his emotional meter go off the charts. He's usually very calm. And what ends up happening is that it looks like Nick Wright is just emotionally unstable while Ric Bucher sort of keeps his cool. You seldom see a guest come on that show and is able to get the type of reactions from Nick Wright that Ric Bucher does. It's like, even when they start a segment and they say, we have Ric Bucher here, you can hear Nick Wright at the beginning of the segment say, oh gosh, here we go, here it comes, because he knows that Ric Bucher is going to be able to refute a lot of the things that he says. And to me, I think it makes the show better for this single reason, because it provides more balance. I'm not saying that Nick Wright shouldn't be able to say what he wants. Like, you can say what you think. As long as there's a balance on the show, it makes it more fun to watch. But if you have one guy totally dominating the conversation and it's really just his viewpoints out there that are being thrown out there, then it's not fun to watch. And I remember watching a video yesterday. I think Ric Bucher was on the Colin Cowherd show. And I read some of the comments, and somebody said, who did this pompous, think he is? He thinks he's so smart when he's nothing. And I'm like, this is what you need, right? This is what it sounds like on the other side of the debate. For those of the people that think Ric Bucher is a hater or he's saying some crazy stuff, now you understand how some of us feel on the opposite end when we have to listen to some of the stuff that this guy says. It is the exact same thing. The only difference is I think Ric Bucher is 100% or 95% right most of the times he's out there talking. So I think it's great for the show, and I hope that he's a permanent fixture. He's been all over FS1 over the last few days. He's been on all of their shows. I don't know if they're going to give him his own show. I don't know if he's going to be a debate partner of another show, but to me, I think he's a welcomed addition to their cast of TV personalities. But this is just my opinion. What I want to know from you guys, what do you think about the job that Ric Bucher is doing? Do you think that he poses a real threat to Nick Wright on First Things First because of his ability to argue and make great points and be a counterbalance on the show? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, and we'll definitely catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.